This is called being a pedant. I'm sure nearly everyone on this list was just pleased that they did get crowned as champion, as obviously that's better than never getting the WWE's top prize. Only a few ever hold it, and it's an honor regardless. Imagine having that dream as a kid and realizing it. It's amazing. When you do get your context lenses though and strap them to your face, it is fair to say these wrestlers should have got their opportunity a bit earlier to tie into the momentum and crowd reaction that was happening at the time. You can ruin a performer by not giving them the nod when the fans are desperate to see it, because you may start to lead people down the wrong path. If the audience decides this moment isn't going to happen, they may switch off when really, you just had to wait a few more weeks. As the old saying goes, timing is everything. I'm Simon from What Culture, remember to subscribe, and this is 10 WWE stars that should have won the world title sooner. Number 10, Dean Ambrose. When Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley, won the WWE title, it was awesome, even more so as he did it using his Money in the Bank briefcase, which he'd only obtained an hour or so before. That's just a cool idea, and the fans agreed. They went nuts when he did this, and some couldn't believe it. Dean had always been treated as the third guy in the Shield, so to reach this part of the mountain was great. He deserved it, as they say. Really though, this should have come a year or so before. In the summer of 2015, Ambrose and former Shield brother Seth Rollins were engaged in an epic feud that had brilliant matches to boot. This is why when Dean won the championship at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view after an absolute war, we all went mad. Good had triumphed over evil, and that dastardly Rollins has been shown that being a dick isn't always the best option. And then it changed. In a very well-worked, dusty finish, it turned out that Seth had actually been DQ'd retroactively, meaning he was still the champ. This was fun as most of us bought it hook, line and sinker, but it kinda sucked that a month later, when they had a rematch, Ambrose was screwed over again. If we had stuck to all this originally, Ambrose's popularity would have skyrocketed, as opposed to him falling back into mid-card obscurity, which is what happened. He was on top of the world, and then back to not doing much of anything. Whether this was one of those situations that caused Ambrose to leave WWE in 2019 and revive himself as Jon Moxley, we don't know, but I don't think it helped. Number 9, Roman Reigns. A troubling case as we know, but one that WWE could have handled much better. When Roman Reigns won his first world title from Dean Ambrose at Survivor Series 2015, fans didn't really care. They were more bummed out that the Lunatic Fringe had lost. This was proven when Sheamus marched out to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase, and that got a far better response. Such booking always does, but there were other undertones here. The audience didn't really want to see Reigns with the belt. The problem was the big dog had been positioned as the next star constantly without any payoff, and people were bored of it. They either didn't want to see it to begin with, or were tired of WWE dragging their heels. It was a bizarre situation. When the Shield broke up, Reigns was still pretty much loved by most, and while it became obvious that he was going to be pushed to the moon, we would sit it out and see. Given what would happen down the line, and that Roman was fighting for the championship at Money in the Bank and Battleground in 2014, WWE probably should have just pulled the trigger then and capitalized on whatever popularity Roman had. And you may be shaking your head now because that would have been just too soon, but would this have been worse than the backlash he experienced at the Royal Rumble? Nope, I don't think it would have been. It may have even helped the situation, to be honest. Sometimes it's best to just get things done. Number 8, Christian. There is so much more to this one because really Christian was never treated properly when he won the World Heavyweight title. He almost felt like a stand-in for Edge, who had been forced to retire, and that was ridiculous. Christian was great and far better than some people give him credit for. He was able to show this after leaving the WWE to head to TNA, where he went from mid-card guy to main event star. There he won a couple of world championships before taking all this back to his old haunts towards the latter end of 2008. Even then though, it wasn't until 2011 when he was given the nod, and that was because the big gold belt had been vacated due to everything that did happen with the Rated R superstar. Straight away I can hear you shouting, but he was ECWWE champ, Simon, and if you want to go with that, cool. It is technically true, but that title was never given any real level of importance, and for my money, he had proven that he was ready for a shot at a more prominent championship. The fact that it could have come earlier, given how well Christian had performed away from WWE, and that it could have been even longer still given the time with Edge, and the whole situation is ludicrous. He was able to capture it twice, but it seems a bit weird it took 13 years after his debut to get it. And yeah, I know, like we said, some people never get the opportunity, but what can I say? I like the man, I respect his work, It's just how I feel. Number 7, Eddie Guerrero. Another star who left WWE only to come back feeling even bigger than he did before. When Eddie Guerrero won the world title at No Way Out 2004, the timing was pretty much bang on the money. It's a moment we still talk about today. However, I did say we were going to be pedants in this list, and really, it may have been better if he had won it just a few weeks earlier at the Royal Rumble. Don't be mistaken either. His win over Brock Lesnar in February of that year was amazing and one of the best things to ever happen in wrestling. But don't forget how it finished. Goldberg got involved to build to the Brock vs. Bill match at WrestleMania 20, was a bit of an eyebrow raiser if you were a Guerrero fan. Furthermore, at the Rumble, Lesnar had taken on Hardcore Holly for the title, which was nothing more than filler. The Beast destroyed Bob in 5 minutes. Therefore, if we had brought forward Eddie's win a little and given him his first world title on a bigger stage, it may have actually been better all around. I'm sure WWE would have still come up with some way for the win to be slightly tainted, but I don't know, man. There is something in this idea, even though now it doesn't really matter. But that's why we're talking about it. It's fun. Number 6, Jeff Hardy. Anyone sense a theme? Once again, we have another wrestler who should have won the world title sooner than he did, and another wrestler who spent time away from the company before it went down. We're in pedant mode again too, because Jeff Hardy would have likely have been better off winning the belt a few weeks earlier than he did. Hardy's first WWE title win was won at Armageddon 2008, where he beat Edge and Triple H in a triple threat match. Too shabby at all. With that said, he had been scheduled to compete in another title match at Survivor Series that came the month before. If that had gone how it was meant to, Jeff would have faced the Game and Vladimir Kozlov. Edge was put into that fight instead because Hardy had been, and I quote, found unconscious in a stairwell at his hotel the night before. Not a great way to get around this given Hardy's well-documented personal issues, but it was a shame as it robbed Jeff of winning a major WWE championship at a Big Four pay-per-view. Now the idea was that we were going to reveal that it had been Matt Hardy who'd done all of this so they could build to a showdown at WrestleMania 25. But that could have been held off for a week so Jeff could have gotten his moment in November instead, and it wouldn't have made a blind bit of difference. I mean, ultimately, beating Edge and Triple H is far better than Vladimir Kozlov, but still, that's how I feel. You can argue in the comments. Number 6, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho did have a fairly rapid ascent in WWE. When he became the undisputed champ at Vengeance 2001, he'd only been with the promotion 2 years. That is pretty good. So we can't really complain about how he was booked, but there is one instance where giving the title to Jericho wouldn't have been bad at all. In fact, it would have rocked. As I'm sure you remember, during a match between Triple H and Jericho on Raw in the year 2000, WWE created one of the loudest pops you'll ever hear when Y2J did shock the game to win the world title. It came after Hunter had reffed up referee Earl Hebner, who got his revenge with a fast count after Jericho had hit the Lion's Salt. It was a real moment that's still awesome to watch today, and you don't forget it once you've seen it. However, the decision was reversed by the end of the night because of all these shenanigans, which means Trips was still the man. It was better in a way because during this period, Jericho would have likely have just lost the title back to Triple H probably at some point in the future, but that's what happened anyway. Chris had gone all the way to the top at the end of 2001, and he had it taken away at WrestleMania 18, where he faced and lost to the King of Kings. You see? We should have just gone with it. Number 4, Ric Flair. One of the best to ever lace up a pair of boots and taking his many world title wins and touring the country, defending it whenever he could. Today we shall focus on when Ric Flair arrived in the WWE in 1991. The Nature Boy didn't waste much time as it took him a mere 113 days to win the belt at the 1992 Royal Rumble. There was still an opportunity to give it to Flair sooner than we did. Now, this is me fantasy booking to the extreme, but the Ric we saw in the early 90s was not the same as the Ric from the previous decade. That just stands to reason because Flair was in his peak during the 80s where he was taking the wrestling industry by storm. Nobody was better. So how it would have happened, I don't know, which yes, defeats the point, but a man of his stature deserved a WWE title run when he was at his highest point, rather than just a little bit afterwards. Seeing that version of Flair under Vince McMahon's watch would have been even better than this, but alas, you can't control the wrestling business, and you can't control time. If only we could. Number 3, Rob Van Dam. Close your eyes and let's go back to the 2001 Invasion angle. That was fun, right? No, it wasn't. A watered-down version of a storyline we had all wanted for years. It's one of the biggest disappointments in WWE history. It still hurts, to be honest. Even stars like DDP were made to look like chumps. When it came to ECW, no one fared much better. That's where RVD comes into play. Despite being in the Alliance, who were pitched as the bad guys, everybody loved Rob Van Dam. He got pops no matter what the situation, and his reward was runs with the IC and Hardcore titles. Not too shabby, but that was the common staple of a mid-carder. His first World Championship win wouldn't come until 2006, and we all know what happened then. It was always going to be a long shot to have an outside name coming in and being booked so strongly, but given where WWE were without names like Goldberg, Hogan and Flair, taking someone like Van Dam, who was over like nobody's business, and underlying that he was great would have helped everybody no end. Fans wouldn't have minded because, as we said, they loved RVD, and it would have shown the invasion angle to be a real threat. They're stealing WWE's belts, damn it! We didn't do this, as we know, but it would have been that touch of creativity that was needed. Number 2, Goldberg. You know why Bill Goldberg worked? Because he walked into WCW and destroyed people. He did it so convincingly and with so much intensity the audience bought in, and he was a made man in months. A 173-match winning streak followed his debut, and it's all largely considered to be a big reason why World Championship Wrestling found itself back on track. At least for a little while. When he arrived in WWE though, it took 6 months before he won that big gold belt from Triple H at Unforgiven 2003. Now that is fast, of course, but we should have looked over at what had been done before and just followed that template. Even if you don't want to do that, SummerSlam 2003 would have been a far better time to pull the trigger. There, Goldberg battled Triple H, Kevin Nash, Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels and Randy Orton in the second ever Elimination Chamber bout, and despite who was in the match, Bill killed them all. It was great. He eliminated Orton, Michaels and Jericho in about 3 minutes of madness, but this was not allowed to transfer across to the game. Hunter used a sledgehammer to take out Goldberg and somehow escape with his title. The thought process was it would make Goldberg's proper title win even better a few weeks on, but after that performance, which was as close as you can get to perfection, WWE should have gone all the way. Everybody would have benefited. Number 1, Booker T. We all know this tale, but let's go through it on one more occasion. The 5-time WCW champion who also arrived during the botched invasion angle, Booker T's early days in WWE saw him drop his World Championship Wrestling belt to the likes of Kurt Angle of The Rock as he tried to find his way. Soon after, his team was defeated in the winner-take-all match at Survivor Series 2001, and that led to Booker being paired up with Goldust. This was brilliant, as we know, but it did take T away from the main event picture where he easily could have hanged. This soon started to change as the Booker man was placed to tangle with Triple H at WrestleMania 19, and every sign on the planet suggested he was gonna win. The build-up was controversial at best, but it could have been made sense of had Booker T whooped the game's ass and proven that you can't talk as he had been talking. This didn't happen, and after a pedigree and a wait of around about 45,898 seconds, Hunter pinned Booker for the 1, 2, 3. From here, it wouldn't be until 2006 when he won his first official WWE branded World Heavyweight title when he beat Rey Mysterio at the Great American Bash. This seems like a long time to me, especially when we bring RVD back into the argument. Booker could have easily been a well-pitched threat during the invasion angle if WWE had taken a chance, but instead, we waited a long-ass time. Know of any other WWE stars that should have won the world title sooner? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Then head over to WhatCulture.com and read yourself some articles, and follow WhatCulture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. My name is Simon from WhatCulture, and I will talk to you again soon.